return of Coach Ralph Friedgen to his alma mater on November 29, 2000, heralded a return to greatness for the University of Maryland football team.
Wow. I tell you, I'm extremely excited for the opportunity to be the head football coach of the University of Maryland. I've waited all my life for this opportunity, and I'm not going to let anybody down.
Keep your composure. This is not going to be easy.
After 32 seasons as an assistant, Ralph Friedgen realized his long-sought dream to be a head coach. And he immediately brought passion and accountability to a program that had spent the decade of the 90s searching for those very qualities.
Let's get a turnover. Go, offense, let's go. Put your hands under there. Give them time to get adjusted, all right? Good try. Hey, that's how to cover. That's how to cover, right like that. Rub it. Push it up and rub it. Look for the ball. You'll score. That's how you got to cover. You got to cover like that every damn time.
The fact that we hadn't been successful really amazed me. And when I came here on my interview and I was certain that our administration, from Dr. Moat and Dr. Yao, wanted a good football team, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, that really we could really establish something here. And my dream is always to have this school be a top 10 to a top 20 team every year that we're here.
First down. Good job. I want to get the first.
A 1969 graduate of Maryland, Friedgen transformed game day at Byrd Stadium from a place to go to the place to be.
When I came in here, there was apathy. There was disdain. There was this attitude that it couldn't get done. To go to the point where we sell out faster than the national championship game last year in the Orange Bowl, till I can't go in a store or a restaurant or a Safeway without 10 people coming up to me and congratulating me. It's just a phenomenon that has happened, and I'm really proud of that.
A season of firsts, a season of record-setting accomplishments, a season that brought gridiron pride back to College Park. This is the story of the 2001 Maryland Terrapins. The dream season. At the start of the 2001 season, few picked Maryland to make much noise in the ACC, and many picked them to finish no higher than 7th. But the first shots rang out against North Carolina in the season opener at Byrd Stadium, when North Carolina jumped to a 7-0 lead on a long touchdown. Other teams might have folded in the face of such adversity, but not this one. The Terps began to establish an identity that day as Bruce Perry shouldered the offensive load, and Maryland unveiled what would become one of college football's most fearsome rushing attacks. Maryland's defense picked off 3 passes and secured a 23-7 win. Ralph Friedgen became the first coach since Tom Nugent in 1959 to win his first ever game as a Terp. And Friedgen also became the only Maryland coach to ever win his inaugural ACC game.
You showed me something today. You showed me you grew as a team today, because when it wasn't going, you didn't quit. You hung in there.
The first thing that I think came to my mind was I was so proud of our players because of the way they won the game. And right then and there, I thought we might have a chance because they passed the first test. The first obstacle that came in their path, they were able to overcome it. And that's something I didn't know that if they had that or not.
I mean, a lot of people picked us to be 7th in the ACC because they really didn't know what we had. You know, they really didn't know the type of athletes that we had. And with the new coaching staff, you know, they didn't know the scheme that they was going to bring with them. You know, we just came and surprised a lot of people.
And in what would quickly become a new Terrapin tradition, Friedgen crowned the victory by living up to a preseason promise to sing the Maryland victory song with the band, students, and players following the game. Was the surprising opening day win a fluke? A week later, Maryland manhandled Eastern Michigan in the same fashion, behind a power rushing game. Bruce Perry crossed the goal line 3 times, and 5 Terrapin ball carriers combined for 280 yards on the ground. A dominating defense with 5 sacks and 2 interceptions added to EMU's misery as the Eagles gained just 124 yards, the fewest allowed by a Maryland team since 1980. A 50-3 win turned Maryland into an overnight sensation. Up next, Wake Forest, in a game that would pit the 2 top rushers in the Atlantic Coast Conference. But it was Maryland's Bruce Perry who ended the day atop the rankings, thanks to touchdown runs of 50 and 80 yards en route to a 276-yard day. The second best performance in school history.
He's going to go all the way. 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Bruce Perry. 80 yards on the first play of the game.
With a 7-point win preserved by a final defensive stand, Maryland was atop the ACC. Could dreams of a championship season begin? Back home to face West Virginia, the Terps tried to close out a perfect September, and the defense dominated once again. The D forced 6 Mountaineer turnovers, with Mike Whaley returning a fumble for a touchdown. Bruce Perry notched his 4th straight 100-yard day, and Sean Hill began to come of age for the Terps. The senior quarterback rushed for 1 touchdown and threw a 29-yard scoring strike to Julian Gary to pace a 32-20 win. In recognition of their 4-0 start, Maryland cracked college football's top 25 for the first time in 2001. It had been 10 years since Maryland had defeated Virginia. Would that serve as motivation for a hungry Terp squad? They scored 2 touchdowns in a 73-second span to lead by 17 at the half. But Virginia narrowed the lead to 3 late in the 3rd. Facing adversity, as they had in week 1, Maryland didn't just respond to it, they thrived on it. Sean Hill marched the Terps 80 yards and capped a 4th quarter drive with a touchdown pass to Jafar Williams. On the ensuing drive, Tony Akonlawant intercepted a pass, and Bruce Perry cashed in for 7. The Terps won 41-21, settling an old score with one of their biggest rivals. The Terps had the momentum as they headed toward an ACC showdown with Georgia Tech 5 days later in Atlanta on national television. Maryland came into the season recognized more for its defense than its offense. But Ralph Friedgen, known as an offensive mastermind in prior jobs, and coordinator Charlie Taft, changed all that and changed it quickly. The Terps scored 390 points in the regular season, more than any team in school history. But what was even more remarkable was the balanced attack that Maryland showed. A passing game led by quarterback Sean Hill and wide receiver Julian Gary, and a running game led by an offensive line that paved the way for running back Bruce Perry, created an offense that was virtually unstoppable. The Terps not only led the ACC in total offense and points per game, they finished among the national leaders in those same categories. Playing with guts, gusto, and bravado, the Maryland offense led the rallying cry in 2001. While fans within the state knew about the rising storm in College Park, the Terrapins had a chance to show the nation when they visited Georgia Tech before a prime-time television audience in mid-October. If the Terps were serious about winning the ACC, this was a must-win game, and Maryland came out firing.
Gives it to the first man. Loose football. Maryland, I believe, is recovered. The ball is still loose. Picked up by Henderson. A race for the end zone. The 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. Henderson in the end zone for a touchdown.
Then, with some razzle-dazzle, they jumped up 14-0 on a Jafar Williams score. But Tech battled back, and Maryland trailed by 3 with the ball and 1:18 left to play. With the game hanging in the balance, Sean Hill delivered in the crunch, showing guile and cunning, poise and precision. He willed the Terrapins down to the Tech 28-yard line with just seconds remaining. Then freshman kicker Nick Novak lined up for his biggest kick of the year.
46 yards. Online, and it is goal! And we're going overtime! What a kick!
After winning the coin toss, Novak converted again on a 26-yard field goal, leaving it up to the defense to stop Tech and secure the Terps' first win over a ranked opponent since 1990.
Maryland wins! They recover the fumble, and the Terps are undefeated!
The biggest and most dramatic win in a decade left Maryland 6-0 atop the summit and dreaming big.
After the Georgia Tech game, we had to change our goals. And we realized at that point in time that we had an opportunity to win the Atlantic Coast Conference, and it was in our hands.
I knew this was a big season after Georgia Tech. I mean, just the character that we had going into, overtime, just to come back and just to bounce back from adversity like we did in that game. I realized we had something special, after that game, and that we could take this a long way.
Sky high after a big road win, the Terrapins tried to continue the celebration at home against Duke. Maryland amassed 697 yards of offense, scoring touchdowns on their first 6 possessions and punting only once on the final play of the game. With an entire team getting into the act, the whipping of the Blue Devils was proof positive that the new team concept Coach Friedgen brought to College Park was working.
There was no I in this team. They functioned as a unit. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody fulfilled their role. Everybody was accountable for their role. And when you do that, you give yourself a chance to be very, very successful. If a major corporation had the intangibles that this team had, they would be a great success also.
Coach Friedgen and his coaching staff came in and said that we had a preconceived notion on who we could or could not beat. And I feel as if they changed that to the point where we're going into every game thinking that we're going to win.
He wanted to instill in us the attitude that win at all costs. I mean, leave it out on the field and just, do your best.
Unfortunately for the Terrapins, dreams of a perfect season ended in Tallahassee on October 27th in a hard-fought loss to Florida State. That loss raised a tough question for the Terps. How would Ralph Friedgen's first team handle its first loss? The question was answered quickly against Troy State. The Terps built a 34-0 lead in a pair of Sean Hill touchdown passes, while the defense stifled Troy State, allowing just 2 first downs and 26 yards in the decisive first half. 2 ACC games remained on the schedule for the Terps, with victories needed in both to not just win the conference, but earn the accompanying and highly coveted bid to a major bowl game. The dream was still alive.
I want everybody attacking people up front.
Though the personnel was not dramatically different, the attitude and effectiveness was for the Terps defense in 2001. New coordinator Gary Blackney installed a high-pressure, blitzing style that paid off on the first play of the season. Led by the 2 Tonys, Okonlawon and Jackson, the Terps forced 24 interceptions, second most in the nation. They allowed just 19 points per game, best in the ACC, to go with a league-leading 37 sacks. But in this stout and steadfast group, linebacker E.J. Henderson was a shining star. Number 42 led the Terps in tackles in 10 of 11 regular season games and finished with 150 on the season. Henderson was a Terrapin terror, adding 6 sacks, an interception, and a fumble return for a touchdown. A season of playing every down as if it was to be his last culminated in Henderson being named the ACC Player of the Year and ACC Defensive Player of the Year, along with being a Butkus Award finalist. This first-team All-American and company showed how a good defense can be every bit as dominant as a good offense. Good fortune smiled on Maryland on November 10th. As their grudge match with Clemson was approaching, Florida State was upset, opening the door to the ACC title.
You want that ring? You win tonight. Florida State got beat. You win tonight, you got the ring.
Seemingly inspired by the news, the Terps clobbered Clemson in front of the first sold-out crowd at Byrd Stadium since 1995. Pandemonium ensued at the final gun as the goalpost came crashing down and the Terps claimed a share of the ACC title.
Oh, you got a lot more years of this right here. So. I know. Congratulations, baby. Oh! Take a picture of that. Take a picture of that.
This next game is the game of your life, okay? It is a big, big game for you. You got a ring right now. It's whether you want somebody else sharing that ring with you or do you want one all by yourself. It says undisputed ACC champs.
The true measure of a champion is how he responds when he's pushed to the brink. And that's exactly where the Terps found themselves against NC State in the final game of the year, needing a win for an outright ACC championship. In a seesaw affair, Maryland trailed 19-16 with 2:19 left on the clock. But just as he did against Georgia Tech with the game on the line, Sean Hill stepped up once more.
The 2-minute situation is something we practice a lot. The quarterback makes all the calls, and the receivers and everybody has to be on the same page.
61 yards from glory. He converted a key 4th and 5 play and added 2 more completions before using a play that hadn't been called since fall camp to win it all.
Here is Sean Hill back to throw. Touchdown pass to Gary is good, and they start heading for the exits in Raleigh.
I knew Julian was going to hopefully get one-on-one coverage, and we've worked long and hard on knowing what each other's going to do, and so I knew where he was going to be without looking at him, and it was just a great feeling. A great win for the whole team and for this university.
It felt good to know that Sean had confidence to come to me with the ball, and the team had confidence that I'd make the catch.
Refusing to quit all season long, Maryland took home the ACC crown and earned a trip to the Orange Bowl, the first major bowl game for the Terps in over 2 decades. The dream was a reality. That Maryland pulled off a 10-1 season was due in large part to some smart special teams play. The Terps were tops all season long, led by punter Brooks Bernard. Number 16 began the season with 7 straight punts of over 50 yards against North Carolina and never let up. The second-team All-American holds every major Maryland punting record. But what's more, the junior served as a spokesman and leader for the team. His counterpart, place kicker Nick Novak, wrote a storybook season of his own, overcoming a rough start to connect on 12 of his last 14 field goals. None bigger than the 2 that tied and won the game against Georgia Tech. In 2001, the Terps' coverage and kick units were indeed quite special. When the Terrapins arrived at Miami's Pro Players Stadium, it marked the culmination and coronation of one of the greatest seasons in Maryland football history.
Biggest game of my life, baby. Biggest game of my life.
These people come down to see you play because they believe in you. If you can't get ready tonight, man, you ain't got no blood in your system. I expect you to be wild-eyed and fired up to kick some Gators' ass.
More than the outcome of the Orange Bowl, it was the experience of being in a major bowl that really mattered to Maryland.
It's the play option fake. Hill throwing. He's got a man wide open at the 30, the 25, the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Jabbar Williams. The final play of the first quarter, 64 yards. Was he wide open?
Terps fans purchased over 25,000 tickets and soundly refuted a widely held misconception that the Terrapins don't travel well. Inside the stadium, it was evident that Maryland's fans were more boisterous, energetic, and passionate than their counterparts from Florida.
Woo! Go Maryland! Let's go Maryland!
When I went out on that field and the people were just going crazy and it was a sea of red, that's my dream. Reunited the state.
Maryland showed a national audience in the millions that College Park can not only have a winning football team, its football program stands as a force to be reckoned with in the new century.
To accomplish what we did this year, it's just one of the most gratifying experiences in my life.
So we've been at the pinnacle. Now we got to work back to get to it.
Let's go!
What Ralph Friedgen and the Terps accomplished in 2001 in bringing the pride back to Maryland football was remarkable. 10 wins, an ACC championship, a trip to the Orange Bowl, a final national ranking of 10th in the nation, consensus National Coach of the Year awards, and numerous players being named to All-American and All-ACC teams. For the 2001 Maryland Terrapin football team, time will not diminish the glory of their deeds in what will forever be remembered as the dream season.
You always have a special place in my heart because I always remember it's a team that you never quit, you played it to the end, you persevered, and now you're the ACC.